Alright, Travis Wingoodsell. Today is Thursday, the 9th of January, 2020. And the last day, well, I can have it done in the morning tomorrow, but the judge has demonstrated misconduct as a judge, federal judge for the United States of America. And so I'll be writing the recusal letter today, the motion. Already got the form for it, and I'll just have to type a piece of paper that'll be more than the lines they provide for me. The Judicial Code of Conduct comes from the Code of Conduct for United States Judges, effective March 12th, 2019. So this is a legitimate complaint because it falls into these categories. Mormons need to understand the church does not come off as the winner when they are the bullies, when they are the aggressors. You can't bully somebody and then claim to be the victim when that victim, the true victim of your bullying, complains, takes you to court, calls the cops, reports you to authorities. You are not the victim in that case. You are trying to justify getting away with your criminal behavior. And so Canon 1 for United States federal judges is a judge should not uphold should uphold the integrity and independence of the judiciary, which means they are not to be under the control of other branches of government, not the executive, not the legislative. They're supposed to be independent in order to be unbiased in their decisions. They're not supposed to make laws. That's the job of the legislature. Their job as the judiciary is to determine whether a specific law is constitutional or not. And unfortunately, they have split up civil versus criminal. That we, the people, cannot file criminal charges against somebody. We cannot accuse somebody of crime, when that's exactly what was done to us. And instead we have to file civil charges and take them for money. And that doesn't solve our problem, because that person who committed the crime and the violation of our rights is still allowed to exist. They're just upset now more with us because we took their money away from them. And again, bullies are not the victims. For example, Trump bullied Iran. He is not the victim when Iran struck back. Alright, so first canon, there's a sentence here in the commentary. The integrity and independence of judges depend in turning on their acting without fear or favor. This is where idolatry originates. It's when you have fear or give favor to an object as having control over your life. This is where this comes from. And judges are not to fear the reprisals from other people or other officers or other judges. and they're not supposed to favor prosecution or defense or a certain position in society. They're supposed to judge independently. And Judge First has not done that. She is acting out in fear, and in so doing is favoring the defendant. She's doing it in fear because she got fired. The judges, she was up for review, and the Judicial Council found her qualified to continue in the first round. The second round was a public decision, and the public found her favorable, so she was all set to be cleared for another term in office. And then Gaddy versus COP came across her desk, and she allowed it. And the church did not allow that, as the Mormons on the federal council all of a sudden changed their mind. But they couldn't do it to claim it was because of her acceptance of the case against the church. Instead, they dug up a previous decision she had made in putting a nonviolent drug possessor, that's what he was arrested for, possession of drugs, put him into the drug courts in the state. Perfectly fine. That's what the drug courts of the state were for, was to put nonviolent offenders out of prisons and into a rehab center so they can get cleaned up. Unfortunately, the particular guy did not feel thankful for the judge's mercy, and he decided to skip out on his rehab, got himself a weapon, and committed a violent crime, shooting a police officer, murdering a police officer. And so they used that as their justification, that the judge should have had foreknowledge that this person should not be put into a rehab center. She was being independent, not allowing fear, not allowing favor to make her decision, and the judges held it against her because of the outcome of the actions of the guy that she had made a verdict on. And that's wrong. They shouldn't have done that. But here's how the church gets busted. After she gets terminated in August of last year, the defendants, the lawyers technically for the defendant, the church, in the Gaddy versus COP case, they file a motion for a new judge. They file a motion for a recusal. They get it. That's where the church gets busted. That's where the judges get busted for having fired this lady, for this judge. Because the church, having influenced the judges to terminate the judge over their case, Gaddy versus COP, then exposed themselves by requesting another judge, because they didn't have confidence in a judge who's been fired. See how that works? They think they've got her in a catch-22. No, again, when you are the bully, you cannot claim victim. And so it gets worse. I file my initial lawsuit against the church on September 30th. This was after she was fired, after the church had filed for a recusal. Then Mormon boy, Judge Waddups, is assigned to my case. He assigns the preliminary stages to Judge First, whose caseload has been lightened now that she's been fired and is going to be leaving office soon. The same judge whose defendants in that Gaddy versus COP filed for recusal. Judge Waddups knew she was fired, even though it was not publicly known at the time, and he still assigned her to my case where the church had already filed for recusal of that judge. You see what they were setting up for me? And I was clueless, because they kept it a secret that she was fired. And so she delays responding. And I'm getting concerned, because the church is committing more crimes that are impacting lots of people. They need to be stopped. And so the judge finally comes out and says, Travis, we need to have a hearing. She's going to dismiss my case. She even says so. I don't see a case here. You don't even have the amount of money you want from the church. Again, I'm not in it for the money. I'm in it to stop the church so that they no longer commit crimes against me. And so she was going to dismiss my case based on the pressure she was getting because she had been terminated. On the day of that hearing even, that's when it went public. But I didn't know about it because the TV news that I was watching on YouTube wasn't covering it. It was the Salt Lake Tribune. And the Salt Lake Tribune makes it very difficult to read their papers online. And so I was unaware of it, and of course I was not involved with Gaddy anymore. And it's a class action. They demand that people be have no longer as Mormons in the church, that you officially write to the church saying, I don't want to be your money-making commodity, and you're supposed to get an official leave from the church. My case, it needed to be me as a Mormon, and so Gaddy gave up on me in notifying me of updates. So I was clueless that of their church's recusal of the judge in their case, which was the same judge that I was assigned to by the Mormon judge. And so at that hearing, on the day that it was publicly announced, but I didn't find out about it, was when I told Judge First, the church is still paying the evaluator in the 2008 case. Oops. I just dropped a bombshell that saved my case. And so she said, all right, you have 30 days, and it's November. The last week is holidays. So, yeah, I had 30 days. And so I rewrote it and submitted it on the 25th, 26th of November. That Monday. The Monday on or was it Tuesday? Because Thanksgiving's on Thursday, so it would have been on Tuesday when I submitted it. and so nothing over the Thanksgiving weekend, the holiday, and then nothing for a couple of weeks, since I'm like, okay, something's wrong. So I check her schedule. She's on recess, but it's not, I don't think it's called recess. It's the period where judges take to go over their caseloads to make determinations and judgments. So I thought, okay, she's deciding my case among others that she has, because I didn't know that she had been terminated yet. It turns out she was just using that as vacation time to justify not doing anything for the rest of her duration of being a judge. And then she kept going through the rest of December, taking Christmas, taking New Year's week off. So the whole month of December, she doesn't respond. So I send in my second motion for service of process. This has to be served. And why? Because of her delay, violating the Judicial Code of Conduct, judge should avoid impropriety and the appearance of impropriety in all activities. Number 2, Canon 2. Because of her delay, whether it's because of her self-pity for getting fired, for being the first judge ever to get fired in Utah, to be the first judge who's a female to ever get fired in Utah, she was most likely at home on the couch eating a big old gallon of ice cream. I have no idea. Maybe she doesn't like ice cream. Maybe she's lactose intolerant. I don't know. But it's unprofessional when you have cases pending to just say, I'm not going to do anything about them. I'm just going to sit around and let things go. And because she did that, that gave the church the opportunity to try to tamper with my case. My case was pivotal on the 2008 case, where I make the claim that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints ordered me to be removed from society. And they got an evaluator to fraudulently evaluate me to justify disappearing me from Utah. 6 years I was gone, Mormons. 6 years. Again, you are not the victims when you are the bullies. And so that whole case was contingent on establishing that the church ordered my disappearance. And I had the case because I found that the church had been paying the evaluator, and I notified the judge of that in the hearing on November 1st. And that's why she allowed me to resubmit the filing. Again, I knew exactly what I was doing. I knew exactly how the courts would behave. And as a result, she made me vulnerable to allow the church to cover up their crime committed against me, which was the whole pivotal thing, because I had caught the church paying. To this day, they were paying the evaluator. That's a naughty no-no in judicial conduct, in court conduct. that sort of is game, set, and match. Guilty. And here I caught the church covering it up, either by stopping the advertising payments, because the evaluator changed her website to no longer show advertisements for the church. Advertisements are paid. People pay to advertise on other people's website. Busted. And I put in that motion. And I reminded the judge. This was after I notified you on the November 1st hearing that the defendant was paying the evaluator. This was changed after that hearing. So they are aware of my case and are putting pressure on the judge. And the judge is giving in to the fear from the pressure of the church, who had fired her. That's why Mormon Judge Waddups assigned my case to her. Thus, why I'm filing the motion for recusal tomorrow. The sad part is that when she says, okay, it'll further delay my case. And that's what the church wants. Further delays. Delaying the inevitable. But my motion to recuse will implicate Judge Waddups as well, because he knew she was fired. He knew she had been recused from the other case that the church was involved in. And this is where my intelligence was greater than theirs. In my initial filing, I said my case was related to Gaddy versus COP, which is why I thought that's why they would assign it to the same judge. Turns out it was for a different reasoning, but that was my intention. And all hell's going to break loose, because Judge Waddups is going to have to recuse himself too. So who do I get? Because I'm pretty sure the majority of the judges are Mormon. They will all have to recuse themselves. Who do I go to file a complaint against the church when the church has their agents filling the courts? This is the danger America is in. Because you guys may not have been paying attention, but McConnell, through this whole time of Trump, has been putting over 150 judges that are alt-right judges in the benches across this nation. He's broken the record. They're specifically biasing the courts so that they're not independent, that they are favoring alt-right party. That's a great danger. And judge should avoid impropriety and the appearance of impropriety in all activities. Mormons also fall guilty of this as judges, because the other video I was going to do to re-emphasize this is that forced to pay tithing in order to go to the rituals and perform in the rituals is protection money, is protectionist racket for criminal organizations. All Mormon judges are forced to pay the church this protection money. And so if I'm trying to sue the church and I have a judge who's beholden to the church with the protection money that they give the church and the loyalty oath in the temple. The law of consecration, Mormons, you know this. All that you possess, all that you will possess, to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints for the building up of the kingdom. Not America, not helping the poor, for the building up of the kingdom and for the establishment of Zion in Utah, not Missouri. The church is a terrorist organization. They are anti-American. It's right there in the law of consecration. And all Mormons, who are judges even, give that loyalty oath to the church over America. That is not avoiding impropriety and the appearance of impropriety in all activities, because it talks about religious activities. Judge is perfectly welcome to get themselves involved in charities and religious activities. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, however, is not the same as other churches, because they demand tithing as protection money. They demand loyalty to them over America. And that's where judges are compromised. And thus my recusal for tomorrow. So, as you can see, I've got a couple other videos about the forced tithing, and then I'll do LDS Church, why the church fears homosexuals. That's going to be a fun one. You don't want to miss that one, because I have insider information on that one. But we'll see if I can get to it today. This is already almost 30 minutes, so this is going to take a while, and I've got some other stuff I got to do too first.